stand for a moment of silence, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Miss McGraw.
Chris.
5:59 still.
We haven't called roll yet.
Yeah.
Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, she told me.
Mr. Clanton?
Present.
Mrs. Doyle?
Here.
Mrs. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. McGee?
Here.
Mr. Page?
Here.
Mr. Smigiel,
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Dr. Alexander?
Here. The motion is to dispense with the reading of our minutes of our previous meeting.
Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. Mr. Clerk, please read the resolution certifying the closed meeting.
A resolution certifying a closed meeting of the Council of the City of Norfolk in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Adopt the resolution. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. Good evening and welcome to the Norfolk City Council meeting tonight. We will begin with one ceremonial item. Following the ceremonial presentation, we will hear public comments on consent and regular agenda items, followed by an invitation to bid and public hearings. We will then take up the consent agenda, which will be voted on in a block. Following the consent agenda, we will take up regular agenda items, then conclude with new business. To address the council, you should have registered to speak with the clerk prior to 3 p.m. When your name is called, please come to the podium, state your name, your home address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And before we begin, Mr. Clerk, will you please read the rules governing tonight's meeting?
Certainly, sir. City Council rules permit each speaker 3 minutes in total to speak on any and or all consent and agenda docket items at each monthly meeting. If in advance of tonight's meeting you registered with the clerk to comment on a public hearing matter, you will have an additional 3 minutes to do so. As you approach the council, you'll notice a timer on the lectern. At the beginning of your 3 minutes, the green light will activate. 2.5 minutes into your remarks, you'll notice a yellow light indicating that you have 30 seconds to finish your comments. At the end of 3 minutes, you'll see a red light and hear a beep. We ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on docket matters, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a disruptive, profane, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. All remarks should be directed to the City Council as a body rather than to a particular member of City Council, the staff, or the audience. Comments on an agenda item should be germane to that item. Typically, council members do not respond to public comments at the time they are received. However, a member of staff may be called upon to address the matter or answer questions. A speaker who fails to comply with the basic rules of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments. And as a reminder, no sign, placard, poster, or like material which may be carried by hand shall be permitted in the City Council chamber or adjoining areas. When your name is called, please come forward, state your name and address, followed by your remarks. If you have a written statement, supply, or supporting materials, please hand it to the clerk and begin your remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bull. Last month, Norfolk was named a 2026 All-America City by the National Civic League. This award honors communities that bring people together to solve problems, expand opportunities, and strengthen civic life. That is Norfolk at its best. This award belongs to our entire community. Together, we proved what we've always known: Norfolk is powered by people. And with us tonight is Rebecca Trout, Senior Director of Programs and Partnerships with the National Civic League. She is here to formally present Norfolk's 2026 All-American City Award. Rebecca, thank you for joining us and for recognizing the incredible people and partnerships that make Norfolk an all-American city. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca Trout, and as it was mentioned, I run the National Civic League's All-America City Award. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. I've gotten the chance to see Norfolk firsthand, and I'm excited to be here to help you celebrate the city's third All-America City Award recognition, which is quite the milestone. I would love to give a little bit of historical context for the All-America City Award for those of you less familiar with the award. It was founded in 1949 by the famous pollster George Gallup as a way to recognize communities that are using civic engagement, collaborative problem solving to really solve challenges and to improve communities. Each year we have a theme. This year we are recognizing communities that are strengthening civic health and building trust. Norfolk first submitted a really robust application around this theme back in March, focused on their people first, community first, and neighbor care programs. The review committee was incredibly impressed by the way that residents are authentically engaged in this community, working with community partners and not for them. They were very impressed with the data-driven approach and your commitment to tracking your outcomes, as well as the robust partnerships with community partners. Based on that strong foundation, Norfolk was invited to be one of just 20 finalists, and you joined us in Denver last month. And the wonderful group behind me represented you all incredibly well. They shared insights with other finalist communities, learned from national experts about civic engagement and trust, and ultimately presented the story of their written application into a very creative 10-minute skit that I highly recommend you all give a chance to watch. The jury was blown away by Norfolk and as well as the other deliberations. I would like to share some of what they recognized you for in their deliberations. They were very impressed by your pilot approach, basically taking a promising solution, getting proof of concept before using resources and rolling that out further, as well as the profound commitment to equity and improving outcomes for those populations typically left behind, and then your embrace of residents, again, as co-equal actors in solving problems together, and welcoming them in on the decision-making throughout the full process. So that's enough for me. But I am here on behalf of the jury, as well as the National Civic League, to recognize Norfolk as a 2026 All-America City. So congratulations for this incredible achievement, and thank you for being a model of civic health and trust for the rest of the nation. And the real congratulations goes to everyone in these cool tie-dye shirts in the hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. So Rebecca, before you leave, we're going to invite you and all of our members of Team Norfolk who went with you up here for a group picture, and you can give me my award. Some can come up front. Rebecca, you come up here. Rebecca, you come up.
I'll go here.
Rebecca, these are up here.
Fellas, you didn't have a tie here. Go tie. I got my tie.
Something move down.
Step up there. You can't stand running. You're too tall. So is Carlos. Slide down this way. You'll see next
Do we have everybody?
Y'all come on up a little closer.
Dr. Perry. Y'all know I'm short.
Dr. Perry?
Someone come down, or what you? Yeah, we come of y'all to come down. We gonna put y'all in the middle.
Short folks wait trying to short.
I can see.
Who you want us to get come down?
Yes, please. And you as well, please.
Who you want us to get? Oh, put your glasses down.
So, Andrew, tell us what to do.
Alright,
Who can you see?
we're gonna get this in the.
Can't see Andrew, Andrew can't see you.
We're good. Okay, everyone.
Go, Norfolk, go!
On three. 1, 2, 3.
People first.
Keep going. 1, 2, 3. We got it. We got it. All right, now a little celebratory one.
Celebrate!
All right, hit it, Ray
Just thank you for looking. I had to be here. Make sure we're gonna win it again next year.
When we replace the signs at our entranceway, we don't need to just put a sticker on it, says 2026.
Yeah, it's been over.
Added a sticker on the last one, 10 years. I think it's 2016.
We don't blame you for taking it. Nobody mad at you for taking it over.
Scott hiding over there in the back.
Y'all did it, man.
Yeah, he's gonna be here. Scott. He's over there to the right.
You got my kiss first, Mr. Bay. I got my kiss blown.
I saw it. I can't picture it.
Y'all come up, one bite.
No, he cannot come up. He's trying to get Scott to see Brian. Brian needs to tell him no. Brian needs to tell him no.
Carlos, before, I know that you may want to make some comments about your experience.
Yeah, I'll make it real quick. Most of the folks are left out of there, but I just wanted to say thank you to the staff. Crystal Ponte was the team leader on that. They really went above and beyond, and to all the community members who went on this. This was, and when I was in Louisville last week at National League of Cities, one of the jurors, unbeknownst to me, was there. It came up and found out that I was from Norfolk to tell us how impressed. The same thing that Rebecca had said. So there's a lot of energy, and we're already looking at next year.
We watched it live. We were there. Yeah, go no. All right, well, thank you. We're going to move right into our agenda. David Lyon signed up for C8. David Lyon. Is David here? David Lyon wanted to speak on David Lyon wanted to speak on C8. Okay. All right. Ms. Garcia will answer questions on C11 if there are questions. Okay. Use for questions?
Need to speak.
You just answer questions on, okay, thank you. If we have questions, we'll call you. All right, thank you. Mr. Bull, I'm ready for IB1. IB1.
The next item is the receipt of bids pursuant to the invitation of bid and notice of public hearing scheduled this day pursuant to state law, public notice having been inserted in the local press by the city clerk to accept bids for the lease of real property and the improvements thereon located at 215 St. Paul's Boulevard and 201 East Bramilton Avenue in the city of Norfolk, Virginia, and commonly known as Chrysler Hall and Scope.
Thank you. How many bids have been received?
I've received one bid, sir.
Thank you. Please read that bid and mark it for identification.
NCCC Rehab LLC hereby submits its bid to lease that certain property located at 215 St. Paul's Boulevard and 201 East Brambleton Avenue, commonly known as Chrysler Hall, in scope, upon, without exception, all of the terms and conditions set forth in Exhibit A to the advertised bid ordinance, and copy of which is attached hereto. And I will mark this bid as NCC Rehab LLC 7/14/2026.
Thank you. Are there any additional bids offered? If there are no additional bids offered, I declare the bidding closed. Is there a recommendation from city staff regarding the bid received from NCCC Rehab LLC?
Thank you, Mayor. The bidder, NCCC Rehab LLC, has accepted all of the terms and conditions of the proposed 10-year lease. City staff recommends that the bid by NCCC Rehab LLC be accepted and that the council proceed to the public hearing on the ordinance for this matter this evening.
Thank you. Is there a motion to proceed to the public hearing on the ordinance in this matter?
I'm so moved.
Mr. Smigiel has moved,
I second.
and Ms. Doyle has seconded.
I thought you had the.
Mrs. Clerk, please proceed with the vote.
Thanks.
Certainly. With the bidding closed, the motion is to proceed to the public hearing on the ordinance in this matter. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Thank you. Aye. The motion was adopted. Mr. Clerk, PH 1.
Certainly. The next item is a public hearing scheduled this day pursuant to state law to hear comments on an ordinance accepting the bid submitted by NCCC Rehab LLC and approving and authorizing the city manager to execute a lease from the city as landlord to NCCC Rehab LLC as tenant for the lease of real property and the improvements thereon located at 215 St. Paul's Boulevard and 201 East Brambleton Avenue in the city of Norfolk, Virginia, and commonly known as Chrysler Hall and scope.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, Mr. Clerk, I ask that you read the caption and call the roll.
Certainly, serve an ordinance accepting the bid submitted by NCC Rehab LLC and approving and authorizing the city manager to execute a lease from the city as landlord to NCCC Rehab LLC as tenant for the lease of real property and improvements thereon located at 215 St. Paul's Boulevard and 201 East Brambleton Avenue in the city of Norfolk, Virginia, and commonly known as Chrysler Hall and scope. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. Mr. Clerk, PH 2.
Public hearing 2 scheduled to stay pursuant to state law on the application of Riptide Car Wash to rezone property located at 908 East Little Creek Road and 7923 Glade Road from conditional CC Community Commercial District to CC Community Commercial District. And by a 5-0 vote, Planning Commission recommends approval. I have an ordinance to rezone property located at 908 East Little Creek Road and 7923 Glade Road from conditional CC Community Commercial District to CC Community Commercial District. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. Mr. Clerk, PH 2A.
PH 2A is an ordinance granting a conditional use permit to authorize the operation of a car wash named Riptide Car Wash on property located at 908 East Little Creek Road and 7923 Glade Road. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. Mr. Clerk, PH 3.
PH 3 scheduled this day pursuant to state law on the application of ODU Real Estate Foundation to rezone property located at 3700-3708 Hampton Boulevard from CC Community Commercial District to conditional MW Monarch Way District. And by a 5-0 vote, Planning Commission recommends approval.
Thank you. Victoria Paul is here to answer questions. Is Victoria Paul? Yes, you here to answer any questions? I don't think we have any questions. Thank you for being here. Mr. Bull.
I have an ordinance to rezone property located at 3700 and 3708 Hampton Boulevard from CC Community Commercial District to conditional MW Monarch Way District. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smiegel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. PH 4.
Public hearing 4 scheduled to stay pursuant to state law on the application of Alexis Calderon to rezone property located at 2747 and 2741 Tidewater Drive from SFT Single Family Traditional District and CN Neighborhood Commercial to conditional CN Neighborhood Commercial District. And by a vote of 5-0, Planning Commission recommends approval.
Clerk, call the roll.
I have an ordinance to rezone property located at 2747 and 2741 Tidewater Drive from SFT Single Family Traditional District and CN Neighborhood Commercial to conditional CN Neighborhood Commercial District. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smiegel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. PH 5.
Public hearing 5 scheduled to stay pursuant to state law on the application of Katie Romeo to rezone property located at 2601 Colley Avenue from IL Industrial Light District to conditional CC Community Commercial District. And by 5-0 vote, the Planning Commission recommends approval.
Katie Romo is here to answer any questions. Katie, thank you for being here. Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
I have an ordinance to rezone property located at 2601 Colley Avenue from IL Industrial Light District to conditional CC Community Commercial District. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smiegel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. Mr. Clerk, PH 6.
Public hearing 6 scheduled to stay pursuant to state law on the application of the City Planning Commission to amend Section 4.2.3 of the Norfolk zoning ordinance so as to modify the performance standard for vendor parks to require a conditional use permit near a residential district. And by a 5-0 vote, Planning Commission recommends approval.
Clerk,
I have an ordinance to amend Section 4.2.3 of the Norfolk zoning ordinance so as to modify the performance standard for vendor parks to require conditional use permit near a residential district. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smiegel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
aye. Mr. Clerk, PH 7.
Public hearing 7 scheduled to stay pursuant to state law to hear comments on an ordinance to amend and reordain Section 14.1-53 Chesterfield Precinct so as to change its boundaries to add Section 14.1-54 so as to create the Norfolk State Precinct, to amend Section 14.1-75 so as to add the Norfolk State Precinct in Super Ward 7, to add Section 14.1-120 for the voting place of the Norfolk State Precinct.
Ms. Tara Emmy Alexander is here to speak. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Tara Alexander, and my address is 3205 Honeyflower Court in Chesapeake. However, sometimes I feel like my address is 700 Park Avenue. I serve as Director of Retention and Assessment for the Division of Student Affairs at Norfolk State University, and I'm speaking in support of establishing a voting precinct at Norfolk State University. As part of my role at the university, I have organized and supported numerous voter registration drives, voter education initiatives, and campus civic engagement programs. So I regularly engage with the students, and they have a desire to be involved with the democratic process. Unfortunately, they sometimes face barriers. Many of our out-of-state students, for example, come to school with the intention of voting in their home states via absentee ballot or going home to vote. We encourage those students to create voting plans. However, they don't always work out for them. And as a result, the students end up showing up at the voting precinct on election day and filling out same-day voter registration forms. And as an election official myself, I'm sure it's very stressful for those precinct workers to have hundreds of students show up and fill out those forms on election day. Establishing a polling location on the campus of Norfolk State University would significantly improve access to voting for thousands of students, supporting both the city's commitment to promoting greater civic participation among young voters and one of the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia's core learning competencies, which is civic engagement. Research has consistently shown that voter participation increases when polling places are conveniently located within communities. For many students, particularly first-time voters, the presence of a polling location on campus could mean the difference between intending to vote and actually casting a ballot. Norfolk State University has the facilities, accessibility features, parking capacity, and organizational infrastructure necessary to successfully host a polling location. Furthermore, a campus polling place would benefit not only the university community, but also surrounding neighborhoods by reducing pressure on the Chesterfield precinct. I respectfully ask the City Council to approve the creation of a polling location on campus, which will expand opportunities for voter participation for our students. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
I have an ordinance to amend and reordain Section 14.1-53, the Chesterfield Precinct, so as to change its boundaries, to add Section 14.1-54, so as to create the Norfolk State Precinct, to amend Section 14.1-75.
Suspend for a minute. Nakia Rollins, would you like to speak as well? Rollins? Yeah, please come on. Sorry, Mr. Clerk.
No problem, no problem.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Nakia Rollins. My address is 4103 Sheila Crescent, Chesapeake, Virginia 23321. I'm here as the Retention and Assessment Specialist for the Norfolk State University Division of Student Affairs. I'm here to encourage the city to support efforts to designate Norfolk State University as a polling location. Our university serves a population of more than 6,000 students, along with faculty, staff, and visitors. As someone who is actively involved in the civic education efforts on campus, I regularly work to increase student engagement through voter registration training, voter education programming, and initiatives designed to help students understand the voting process. Through this work, I've seen firsthand that students are interested in civic participation and want to make their voices heard. However, the access remains a challenge. Currently, many students depend on transportation to off-campus polling sites, and while shuttle services can sometimes be arranged, coordinating the transportation around the students' class schedules, work commitments, and other responsibilities can be difficult. For many students, finding the time to travel to a polling place becomes a significant obstacle due to exercising their right to vote. Establishing a polling site on campus would increase access to voting and help remove barriers that can discourage their participation in the democratic process. A polling location on campus would make voting more convenient and accessible, and it would allow students to participate in elections without having to choose between voting, attending class, or meeting work obligations. It would also reinforce civic engagement efforts by making voting a visible and practical part of their student life. Our campus has facilities that can accommodate large numbers of people and provide accessible spaces for voters. As a community institution, Norfolk State University has the opportunity to strengthen its partnership with the city and demonstrate a shared commitment to civic engagement and voter participation. So I respectfully ask the council to work with the election board to designate our campus as a polling site. Thank you for your time, consideration, and commitment to ensuring all members of our community have meaningful access to the ballot box.
Thank you. Clerk?
Certainly, sir. An ordinance to amend and reordain Section 14.1-53, Chesterfield Precinct, so as to change its boundaries, to add Section 14.1-54, so as to create the Norfolk State Precinct, to amend Section 14.1-75 so as to add the Norfolk State Precinct in Super Ward 7, to add Section 14.1-120 for the voting place of the Norfolk State Precinct. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Mr. Mayor, I won't belong or belabor it, but I'm happy to hear about this opportunity. When we often hear that young people are not participating in the voting process or just in government as a whole, to be able to place a precinct and make it easy and accessible, especially in a world right now when voting is on attack. Norfolk can be a city that continues to move forward, just like we said, being powered by people, an all-American city that will provide opportunities for every voter and to have their voice counted. So with that, I vote aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Behold, and I definitely vote aye.
Thank you. Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
I vote aye, but I want to thank Stephanie Owls, who brought this idea to me about 3 years ago. And she worked tirelessly to make this happen. Stephanie, thank you for working with Norfolk State University to give students access, greater access to the ballot. So thank you for your leadership. I vote aye. Mr. Clerk, P.
Public hearing 8, scheduled this day pursuant to state law to hear comments on an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale by the city of Norfolk, Virginia of up to $60 million in water revenue bonds. Of an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale by the city of Norfolk, Virginia of up to $60 million in water revenue bonds. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. PH 9.
PH 9, scheduled this day pursuant to state law to hear comments on an ordinance approving a lease agreement with Bose Tailor Shop, Inc. for the lease of city-owned property located at 130 Bank Street. I have an ordinance approving a lease agreement with Bose Tailor Shop, Inc. for the lease of city-owned property located at 130 Bank Street. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. PH 10.
Public hearing 10 scheduled to stay pursuant to state law to hear comments on an ordinance approving and authorizing the city manager to execute a First Amendment to license agreement by and between the city of Norfolk as licensor and Genghis Khan Mongolian Barbecue Restaurant, Inc. as licensee for the lease of real property located at 880 North Military Highway, Unit 6300. Have an ordinance approving and authorizing the city manager to execute a First Amendment to license agreement by and between the city of Norfolk as licensor and Genghis Khan Mongolian Barbecue Restaurant, Inc. as licensee for the lease of real property located at 880 North Military Highway, Unit 6300. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. Mr. Clerk, the consent agenda will be considered in a block, removing C6. Mr. Page, C6? Yes, sir. And if no other item will be removed, it will be a block.
Certainly. Approve the consent agenda and dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinances twice and adopt with the effective date with the exception of C6. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Okay. Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. Mr. Clerk, C6.
C6 is an ordinance granting a conditional use permit to authorize a short-term rental unit homestay on property located at 1432 Norcova Avenue.
Call the roll.
Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
No.
Mrs. Doyle.
I pause here. Is there a reason why it was pulled?
Because those don't work in our communities that way. The owners from out of town, they have not met, talked with any of us, nor have they talked with the citizens in that community as to what their intentions are.
Mr. Clerk, let's let's suspend the vote and let's continue it to, well, let me ask Mr. Melita, if the applicant has not done the required outreach and research about the community.
What if they made it this far? They didn't go to the Civic League, or,
They may have, but
because they don't have to do Civic League, they can do pub meeting at their, yeah.
traditionally what's happened in some of the communities in Ward 4, when we have these places and they're not
Yeah.
people that live in the community, sometimes people from outside of the community that the community does not desire to be there rents these places, parties and things of that nature
I got
takes
you,
place.
yeah.
What is our next,
August 25th.
Ms. Melita?
Mr. Mayor, you need a motion to continue this item either from the council or from the applicant.
Council, motion to continue until our next meeting, August
25th. The motion on the floor is to continue this matter to August 25th.
Call the roll.
Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. Clerk, R1.
R1 is an ordinance amending the FY 2027 Annual Appropriations Ordinance Number 50363 to appropriate $143,110.54 from opioid litigation settlement funds for 2 additional peer recovery specialists, 3 positions, and amending the FY 2027 budget to add the same. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R2.
R2 is an ordinance amending the FY 2027 Annual Appropriations Ordinance Number 5363 to appropriate $16,340 from the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services for the Norfolk Community Services Board for crisis funding, and amending the FY 2027 budget to add the same. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. Mr. Clerk, R4.
R3 is an ordinance amending the FY 2027 Annual Appropriations Ordinance Number 5363 to appropriate $20,820 from the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services for the Norfolk Community Services Board for crisis funding, and amending the FY 2027 budget to add the same. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R4.
R4 is an ordinance amending the FY 2027 Annual Appropriations Ordinance Number 5363 to appropriate $1,228 from the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services for the Norfolk Community Services Board for crisis funding, and amending the FY 2027 budget to add the same. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R5.
R5 is an ordinance amending the FY 2027 Annual Appropriations Ordinance Number 5363 to appropriate $1,973,600 from the Stormwater Management Capital Improvement Funds as the local funds for the Chesapeake Boulevard Pedestrian Improvement Project, UBC 124-683, amending the FY 2027 budget consistent with the same and authorizing the project agreement. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R6.
R6 is an ordinance amending the FY 2027 annual appropriations ordinance number 5363 to appropriate $25,000 in federal funding from the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services to strengthen crime control and provide $8,333 as a local match, and amending the FY 2027 budget to add the same. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye.
R7 is a resolution of the City of Norfolk providing initial approval for an issuance of up to $25 million of revenue bonds for the benefit of Next Steps to Success. Adopt the resolution. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Yes, I encourage all that are not familiar with Next Steps to Success to look into this program. It's a tremendous program. It's an addition to our city and a very special place for some of our most marginalized citizens. I vote aye.
Thank you. Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R8.
R8 is an ordinance approving and authorizing the city manager to execute a deed of sublease agreement by and between NCCC Rehab LLC as sublandlord and the city of Norfolk as subtenant for the sublease of property and the improvements thereon located at 215 St. Paul's Boulevard and 201 East Bramilton Avenue in the city of Norfolk, Virginia, and commonly known as Chrysler Hall and Scope. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R9.
R9 is an ordinance approving and authorizing the city manager to execute a development agreement by and between NCCC Rehab LLC and the city of Norfolk for the property located at 215 St. Paul's Boulevard and 201 East Bramilton Avenue in the city of Norfolk, Virginia, and commonly known as Chrysler Hall and Scope. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R10.
R10 is an ordinance approving and authorizing the city manager to execute a cooperation agreement by and between the city of Norfolk and Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority for the renovation of the property and related facilities located at 215 St. Paul's Boulevard and 201 East Bramilton Avenue in the city of Norfolk, Virginia, and commonly known as Chrysler Hall and Scope. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R11.
R11 is an ordinance amending Section 1 of the FY 2027 Annual Appropriations Ordinance Number 5363 to appropriate funds to provide a one-time 2% bonus for state-supported constitutional officers and their state-supported employees, and to provide a base salary increase of at least 3.5% for locally elected constitutional officers and their full-time employees, the General Registrar, the Electoral Board members, and the Norfolk Community Services Board full-time employees, and amending the FY 2027 budget consistent with the same. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R12.
R12, the first ordinance amending and reordaining the fiscal year 2027 compensation plan ordinance and exhibits, ordinance number 5415, effective July 1, 2026, to revise its section 2 in its entirety so as to increase the base salaries as they existed on June 30, 2026 of certain city and non-city full-time employees by either 1%, 3%, or 3.5% to provide them total increases of 3.5% or 4% for fiscal year 2027 as of August 1, 2026, and so as to revise its Exhibit 3 alphabetical classification listing to change the grade minimum and maximum salaries attached to the case manager 4 position title and mark the series of payroll specialist position titles 1 through 3 as eligible for automatic reclassification. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Yeah, I'd like to buy a vowel. Does anybody want to guess what letter it is? Aye.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Thomas. Thank you. Dr. Alexander.
Aye. Mr. Clerk, you have another?
That's all I have, sir.
All right, the first speaker is citizen Danica Royster.
She was a lot different from the back.
You look so much younger and fresher.
I know, something just happens, but unfortunately, when I left, I needed glasses all of a sudden. I don't know if there's some retroactive thing that can happen with that, city manager. Danica Royster, 1701 Church Street, Norfolk, Virginia, 23504. Ward 4, Super Ward 7. I'll add that in. I wanted to extend my sincere gratitude for your support of this year's Surviving Through Mental Health Community Conversation and Resource Fair that took place last Thursday at the Addicts Theater. Your commitment helped create a space where our community could gather, learn, and heal together. As we reflected during the program, July holds deep significance. In 2008, the U.S. Congress designated this month as National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month in honor of Bebe Moore Campbell, an author, advocate, and co-founder of NAMI Urban Los Angeles, whose work centered on stigma reduction, culturally informed care, and community-based community mental health education. Her legacy reminds us that healing is both personal and collective, and that access to care must be shaped by the voices and the needs of the community it serves. We also honored the Black and Brown generations who came before us, those who carried heavy burdens, sacrificed dreams, and endured pain so that we could stand in the light. Many of their mental and emotional needs went unrecognized. They survived in silence so we could speak our truths out loud. Some wounds were left open, some stories untold, and some patterns were born from survival rather than wellness. Today, that work is ours. Healing in community means naming what was hidden, facing what hurts, and choosing accountability for our own growth while reaching back to help others rise. Just as previous generations planted seeds for us, we now plant seeds for those who will come after, seeds that will be nurtured long after this moment. This year's event was more than a conversation. It was a continuation of courage, healing, and legacy. And for me, since this is our third year, it's been personal. As many of you know, back in 2017, I was diagnosed myself with anxiety, depression, and also battled my own suicidal ideations. So for me, it was important that our residents in the city of Norfolk knew that it's okay to not be okay. And your diagnosis doesn't determine your destination. So it's important that alongside our Community Services Board, nonprofit organizations like Project ORF, as well as I think we had over 20 community partners and 10 sponsors for this event and welcomed hundreds of citizens of Norfolk, that we continue this work. Thank you for standing with Project ORF and supporting the Norfolk Community Service Board in that work. Your support made this gathering possible, and your leadership continues to shape a city where community wellness is valued, protected, and uplifted. So what I brought with me today was some of the shirts from this year's event, Surviving Through Mental Health, and We Heal Together, Our Stories, Our Culture, Our Community. I didn't have time to get you a bag, Pat, but I got your size.
All right, cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. That's fantastic. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Citizen Royster.
Citizen Royster.
Citizen. Alfonso Albert.
Good evening. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, our honorable council, our city manager, Mr. Roberts, and your team. I am here to just appreciate and commend the city for, first of all, indulging to and then going after the All-American Cities Award. I wanted to say congratulations. There are a lot of angles that make a city great. You just heard one from Mr. Nika Royster, and then when you engage a city with that kind of thing, it lifts it up. And so to our manager, I wanted to say, great job, Pat. Outstanding job. You have that wonderful person who works on your team that was born with that gene, like my wife. She does all things well, so she gets drafted a lot, and that's Susan Perry. She does do all things well. And so she'll be drafted again in something, I'm sure, pretty soon. But I do want to commend you, and to continue to do that kind of thing that makes our city feel, look, and present itself as an all-American city. Is very inclusive, and that encourages other communities that don't have a venue for engaging when they're reminded that they're part of an all-American cities. And so I would take every effort I could to promote that every time I send something out for the city. So job well done. I wanted to say that to both the elected team for supporting it, and to the administration for noting it and then getting out and winning it. I've been involved in going for it. Obviously, we lost, but it was a good effort. And so congratulations and job well done. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. 1017 Godfrey Avenue, Norfolk, 23504. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I'm going to ask Lavorius Pace if he would come up with the members of the Ambassadors for Christ Deliverance Center, Ambassadors Community Development Center. They were one of the recipients of the Juneteenth grants, and so we have Apostle Michelle Bowman, Minister Robert Van, I believe Michelle Jones, Dr. Woodbury. They wanted to come up and thank the city for being a recipient of the grant. So, Dr. Bowman, everyone with your team, please come up at one time, make your comments, and we'll take a picture. But Lavorius this is one of the groups that received one of the Juneteenth, and they did a fantastic job with the Juneteenth celebration grant. So, glad that you're here, and please come, Pastor. And Johnson, okay. Y'all can come up.
Y'all come up?
We're going to take a picture. And Mr. Page said he wants another round of that fish that you served on June.
Okay. No problem. Well, thank you all again for allowing us to be here. My name is Robert Van. I stay at 5515 Bricker Road, Norfolk, Virginia, 23502, standing on behalf of the Ambassadors Community Development Corporation, along with our CEO, Michelle Bowman, Dr. Woodbury, and our team here. We just want to say thank you for your partnership with us. And on behalf of our president, LaShelle Ragland, thank you guys so much. On behalf of our executive board, Community Development Corporation family, we extend our sincere gratitude for your generous donation and continued support of our programs and community outreach efforts. Your investment in our organization was more than a financial contribution. It was an investment in the lives of individuals and families throughout the city of Norfolk because of your partnership. We were able to host an impactful Juneteenth event, which celebrated minority businesses, community programs, resources, activities, and historical information that strengthened our community, encouraged hope, and positively impacted those we served. Thank you for your commitment to our organization mission as we strive to provide resources, impactful programs, and host events that will make meaningful difference. We are grateful for your support and look forward to continuing to serve our community together with you all. We sincerely appreciate. Thank you for everybody who came out. Thank you, Councilman Page, for the opportunity. You guys are about to come out again. We have fish for everybody. But we really do appreciate the city's support. Look forward to doing more partnership with you guys as well.
Thank you. I know that Councilman McGee and Councilwoman Johnson both were part of, along with Deputy City Manager Pace, were spearheading that initiative, and Councilwoman Johnson wanted to say something. Councilwoman Johnson, go right on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you to the entire group for inviting me there. But once I gave them Councilman McGee and my schedule for the 3-day weekend, they understood. Thank you, Dr. Woodbury, for reaching out the other day and just letting us know how grateful, how thankful, and having the opportunity to serve the community as we celebrated Juneteenth. So thank you to the City Council. Thank you to the citizens of Norfolk. And please continue to keep up the good work in the community.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Dr. Woodbury, please go right on.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alexander and Council. Rob did an excellent job getting the message across as far as how grateful we are. But I also want to take an opportunity to thank our guest speakers, who was Ms. Tierra Lassiter, the president of the Norfolk Federation of Civic Leagues, Marcia Mock. They took time out of their schedule to come and engage with the community, to teach the community about civic engagement. And I also want to thank Councilman Page, school board member Ms. Alfreda Thompson, president of the Ingleside Civic League, educator Mr. Philip Hawkins, Officer Tomko, and Deputy Hayes. They all came out and they didn't have to. They gave us their time, as well as Ms. Kimberly Pierce, who answered 1,001 of our questions. So thank all of you. We are very, very grateful, and Rob did a great job explaining that. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Please come in front. We'll take a picture with you. Council, please stand.
Oh, right there.
Okay, yeah, just come in.
Stand by chairs.
Yeah, stand by your chairs, yeah.
Come in a little bit.
Scoot down, scoot down. JP didn't tell us about the fish.
Tall as we are, standing down there.
Man, those croakers were the size of puppet drawers. Didn't even fit in the little boxes.
That's right. Well, we gotta get some steak and pork chops with chicken, fried chicken for Tommy. Pace, get in there, man. Pace, you gonna be able to get up. Pace, stand up.
Can't see you in podium.
Yeah. My knees, they gonna take it.
All right.
Her face is hidden.
Can we get our two guest speakers in the picture really quick? Marcia and Tierra, that's why they.
Well, let's take this picture first. Let's take this picture first, all right?
Hold on, take this one.
Let's take this first. Take it with the church. Take it with the church first. Take it with the church first, then we'll take another. Because they may want to use it for whatever. And then we'll get Marcia. All right, please, come on, Marcia and Tierra, come on, get in.
Come on this side.
Thank you.
Watch the cord. Oh, no accidents, got a lawyer. No. Thank you. Congrats.
I'll send you the one that I asked them. I just found what they tried in 2023 and told them no.
Monet Johnson, you ready?
Hi, Monet Johnson. I've been coming to City Council for quite a while now, and I've watched how things have changed. We've, as long as I've been here, always had to register in advance, and then we were limited to only speaking once a month. And now, if something is repetitive, it can be deemed not appropriate for the meeting. And I'm really worried because public participation is becoming progressively restricted. Norfolk didn't make one isolated change. It has repeatedly narrowed residents' ability to address City Council over time. In order to really think about this, if something happened at the opening ceremony of the World Cup, I would have to address it today. It would take a month for me to be able to come before council and address something that is not decidedly put on the agenda, which happens through you all. This council has shifted from regulating logistics to really regulating viewpoints. Managing time is one thing. Allowing elected officials to determine which comments are too repetitive gives this body the discretion to limit public criticism, even when multiple residents share the same concern. And democracy depends on hearing repeated concerns, not suppressing them. When many people show up to speak about the same issue, repetition is evidence of widespread public concern, not a reason to silence additional voices. The number of people speaking in and of itself is important information. And at a time like this, where democracy is continuously under attack, I am growing increasingly concerned about the ability for myself or organizers who come after me to be able to speak to this body, particularly when there are folks who will not be here anymore. Someone could come in after you all, make one discriminatory rule, and our ability to speak about what is happening to us today, tomorrow, a week ago, a month ago, in 2 weeks is completely obliterated. I was there through a lot of y'all's campaigns, and everybody said they wanted to hear the voice of the people, and it's about to be time to hear the voice of the people again. So I really hope you all consider making it so that we can still use our voice while we have them. Thank you.
Thank you. Siobhan Bennett. Siobhan Bennett will be followed by Kenan Baskerville.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Haven't seen you guys in a while. I come here today just to ask for you guys' blessings. I've been working on a few programs, but it hasn't been molded to my liking yet. I'm asking a couple of you guys because I want some of you guys' opinions and a discussion about how we can move this forward. Now, with two of the programs, of course, there's going to be fundings, but we can figure out the numbers later. I personally would like to extend an invitation. I'm going to call you guys anyway and email y'all, so just letting you guys know. To Susan Perry, I like everything that she does. I seen her Thursday at the Project Orph event. She's a great lady. She always receptive to anything that I ask. She knows a lot about a lot. There's one program particularly, Mr. Page, that I know you're going to jump all over it because it's dealing with incarcerated individuals. So please pick up my phone call. Mr. Mayor, every time I've asked you for anything or any idea, you've been receptive. I know last year we talked about something in the springtime with me, you, and Mr. Laborious. Still want to do that. Mr. Thomas, he's not here right now, but shameless plug. Decker Law Firm, you ever get in an accident? That's your guy. He's the reason I'm here right now. And last but not least, I also would like to include Ms. Doyle in on the talks as well. So, funny story, last June, we was at the primaries on opposite sides. We was just talking, having a good time, and there was a situation that came up, and this is the first time that I seen somebody like Ms. Doyle stand her ground. And I was shocked, there was a lot going on, but I seen her, I was like, oh, okay. She ain't no punks. Okay, yeah, we can do some work now. So I respect you for that. You holding your ground. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
But yeah, so I'm just letting you guys know that I got a couple things that I'm working on, something big. I want the city involved, and I want all ears and everybody on deck. Thank you.
Thank you. Kenan?
Good afternoon, everybody. How y'all doing?
Good afternoon.
So
Evening.
I wanted to echo my supervisor's sentiments from earlier by simply asking you all, what do you want your legacy to be? Civic engagement in Norfolk, in America, is extremely necessary, especially during this day and age where we're seeing censorship, repression, secret police, all of these things be used maliciously to silence people and their voices from participating in the democratic process or using their voice collectively to make change. And now that we're seeing in city council the slow erosion of our ability to use our public comment often and regularly, it is extremely shameful to have these seats and still act as though you have something better to do than listen to the people. What more do you have to do than your jobs? Of course, being an elected official is a participatory, part-time position. I get that. But when we are in this chamber, in this meeting, and you are sitting in your seats listening to the people use their voice, I think there is no greater time than to put on your listening ears. At a minimum, once a month is all we can ask for. And so if it's a little redundant, so what? Let the people speak. Listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Tiara Lassiter? Tiara will be followed by Derek Isabel.
So, good evening, council and mayor. In regards to the city, I have many concerns and a list of needs that would benefit the citizens of Norfolk. We need increased minimum wage. We need affordable housing. We need income-based housing. We need all streets to be repaved. We need a flood mitigation system. We need more mental health facilities. We need more homeless shelters and services. We need more job/career training resources. We need drug rehabilitation centers. We need more youth programs. We need affordable health care, more resources for felons. We need lower personal property taxes. We need increased funding to Norfolk Public Schools. We need you guys to help us to end rent gouging, put a cap on rent. We need fully staffed emergency response systems, EMTs, firefighters, police, and hospitals. We need more recreational spaces, more entrepreneur programs and resources and opportunities. But lastly, we, the people, need more time to advocate our needs and concerns. So 3 minutes of new business a month is simply not enough time to advocate everything that we may need or we may want to see within the city. It is not often that we get a chance to do this at this public forum. I would rather be loud for change than silent and complicit with all of the things that are going wrong within the city. We need change in the city of Norfolk that will benefit everyone, that will make the city safe for everyone, that will truly help the city to grow and thrive, as we say. So in the words of Jerry Flowers, if serving people is beneath you, then leading people is beyond you. If you're not willing to serve the same population that you want to vote for you, then by all means resign. I would rather see an empty seat than to continue to come up here year after year, time after time, advocate, feel dismissed, feel unheard, and not see any single thing that I have presented to the council implemented. So I don't feel like my voice is heard. I don't even know at this point if the vote counts because I sacrificed a lot of time in order for to be able to come here and do this. It is not an easy thing to come and speak publicly above a board who you feel like does not care about you, is not empathetic, is not listening, is dismissive, is on the phone, and all of these other things. I'm coming with the most respect that I have because these are the people that the city said that if we had an issue we needed to address. And it's not everybody on this board, but it is a lot of people on this board. And it's time for a change. We need a change in Norfolk. We need change within our leadership. We need change within the people. We have a broken city. And the only way to heal it and mend it is to change. If what we're doing is not working, it's time to try something different. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you. Derek Isabel. Derek Isabel? Isabel.
Derek Zing?
No. Derek, why don't you come on since you're standing? And we'll come back to Derek Isabel if he shows up. But since you're here, welcome.
Perfect. Sorry, I'm a little hard of hearing.
No worries.
All right. Good evening, members of Norfolk City Council. My name is Derek Zing of 415 St. Paul's Boulevard. I'm representing myself as a concerned citizen. I'm currently serving the United States Navy. When I raised my right hand, I swore to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. It is because I take that oath seriously that I'm here tonight. I respectfully ask you to reconsider Norfolk's continued use and expansion of Flock Safety's automated license plate reader and Bluetooth surveillance network, especially in light of recent Supreme Court rulings. In United States v. Jones, the court warned that prolonged tracking creates a precise, comprehensive record of a person's movements. In Carpenter v. United States, the justices held that people have a reasonable expectation of privacy in the aggregate data of their physical movements. And in the recent Chattree v. United States, the court recognized that sweeping up location data on countless innocent people is the modern equivalent of the general warrants the Fourth Amendment was written to prohibit. These cameras are often described as tools for reading license plates, but that's a lie. On my journey of just 4 blocks to this city hall, I passed by 6 cameras. Every time one of us drives past a Flock camera, the system records our vehicle's license plate, the exact time, the location, make, model, color, and unique features like bumper stickers or damage. With Bluetooth detection enabled, it builds profiles of everyone who passes by. This is dragnet surveillance at its most extreme. Instead of investigating someone based on probable cause, these systems collect information on every single person first and decide later who might be of interest. It creates a searchable history and heat map of innocent people's daily lives. What routes they take, where they worship, where they seek medical care, who they visit, and what events they attend. A recent Christopher Newport University study found that that Flock cameras in the Hampton Roads area are heavily concentrated in majority Black and historically disadvantaged neighborhoods. In Norfolk, the highest density is around Norfolk State University, Huntersville, and Berkeley. Majority Black areas have roughly 4 times as many cameras as majority white areas. Regardless of intent, this unequal surveillance should concern every citizen. Finally, there is no independent oversight. When a surveillance system has the ability to track every driver in Norfolk, internal oversight of the police and Flock alone is not enough. We need truly independent third-party auditing and real transparency to restore public trust. I urge this council to immediately pause any further expansion. May I continue? I have one couple sentences left.
It just ended, sir. Okay. Time is, thank you. Samuel Wallace. And Samuel will be followed by Tyson Kemp.
I'd I'd like to take a moment to thank Councilor Page for reaching out to me and others after the previous City Council session. It's remarkable that his invitation is the first time that anyone on the other side of that desk has bothered to engage with us in any way. It makes me wonder, councilors, what you think your job is as a representative. We have been coming to these meetings now for 4 months. By any standard, I would think that makes us remarkably engaged citizens. And yet, until JP stepped up, we received nothing but months of deafening silence. Who do you represent, councilors? How about Courtney Doyle? Jeremy McGee? I live in their wards. I'm a resident of Norfolk. I've been busting my butt every week for the last 18 weeks to raise awareness about this very serious issue and taking hours out of my day to come address you repeatedly. Why did I speak to JP before I spoke to them? Is he just a better city councilor than Ms. Doyle, than Mr. McGee? Why did I have a 3-hour-long conversation with Ramin Fatehi before I heard one word out of either of their mouths? In fact, the only response that I have received from you all, in any respect, is the mayor clamping down on my ability to speak by declaring our comments repetitious. I have heard that this was in no small part due to pressure from you, councilors. Is that what I am to you? Not a constituent, but an inconvenience? I can't tell you how angry that makes me. Our addresses to you are not repetitious. Every single person who has come up to speak to you for 4 months straight has brought something new to the conversation, some new concern, some new information. Our comments are detailed, thorough, and well-researched. Is this your representative democracy, councilors? You sit in your seats and tolerate me for the minimum duration required by law? Look, and then you shut the door on me. Job done. Back to making deals behind closed doors with the real movers and shakers. Why take an interest in my concerns? I'm just another in a long line of schmucks who come up to tug on your ear. Well, too bad. I'm not going anywhere. I'm comfortable coming up to this podium and engaging with you where everybody can see it. That's called accountability, and Norfolk is sorely lacking in that department. It's not our duty to engage with your process. I work for a living. It's your job to represent me, and not my job to get represented by you. It's your duty to engage us instead of trying to shut us out. But by all means, feel free to try. Maybe you'll make the newspaper again. We'll just come back with more people because what you don't seem to realize is Norfolk citizens hate Flock. This isn't going away. It's only going to get bigger. Congratulations on your award.
Thank you. Tyson Kemp. Tyson Kemp.
Hi. So one thing I would say is that I have traumatic brain injury. 7 years ago, I did my skateboard going down a hill. I was 5 weeks in the coma, water the lungs. It was definitely not good. I know I was going because of Google, though. I was doing that because of GDG, Google Development Group, because, again, can't really have a lot of words of that. I have aphasia. It's really, really, really hard. My thing is definitely the AI. It's Skynet. Skynet. We are going to be not ever going to be here. Or it's only going to be the top of the top, Elon, or the other ones. I mean, like, why is that? That's what I was doing this. But I don't want to do that. I have the other thing of that. So that is not actually Google, it's the other one. So there is that, but also then because of Flock, or no Flock, is definitely not good. I know because of Front Royal and all the time of where all that is. And I can't even know that because I can't say the word, but it's a lot. I would also say because of all the pedophile things of that. They're trying to look and see if there are those things of the pedophile things, to try to see all the kids, to try to say whatever. I know that. I know, what was it? I can't say that. That's what I can't say, what I want to say. But it's definitely doing that because of that, of the pedophile even now, that someone did that. I don't know if he's doing that, but that is a thing. They also did the policeman and trying to see a female that was already there, but he's trying to look of that. I can't, again, probably can't even say my words. It's definitely not good of my words of what it is, but I definitely know what it is in there. And it's definitely not good of all of this. It's definitely that. There's also another one though, because of this, it's the military in there. They did this thing 20, 25, 30 years that they've been doing that, and they can actually see where your car is. Not only your car, all of the people. They know where it is.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. Lydia Harden.
Remind everybody about language and its violation of our rules, please.
Yeah.
I know, I understand
Lydia
that.
Harden.
Yeah.
All right. Good evening. My name is Lydia Harden, and I am a resident of Norfolk in Ward 2. I've lived in Norfolk for the past 8 years. I'm here today to voice my displeasure at the amount of automated license plate readers, more commonly referred to as flock cameras, in our city. In an era where all of our actions are being tracked on social media and the internet, one of the few places that people can find freedom and a respite from a constant tracking has been outside. Unfortunately, with the advent of these automated license plate readers, not even trying to experience the real world in the outdoors can go unmonitored. Love it or hate it, America is an extremely car-centric society, and to get anywhere outside, you almost always have to drive. Because of flock cameras, however, our daily comings and goings are tracked constantly in a blatant disregard of our Fourth Amendment rights, protecting us from unreasonable searches. There's even an ongoing court case against the Norfolk Police Department arguing this exact fact. With the constant monitoring of citizens' movements around the city using flock cameras, there are slim chances that you can go anywhere in the city without being tracked. Here are just a few examples that affect me personally. I'm surveilled by 9 flock cameras when I go to and from work. If I want to go to and from my favorite bar to see some of my friends, I can't do that unless I want to get watched by 6 cameras. If I want to go one way on I-64 to visit my family, I'm tracked by 9 different flock cameras, and that's just within the city limits. I live a measly 2.7 miles away from City Hall, and in that distance, I'll spied on by 7 different cameras on my drive here, and I'll be tracked by 8 when I go home. Nearly everyone in this room will have been tracked today by these cameras, because there are 5 different cameras watching most of the streets around City Hall. It's ridiculous. Norfolk citizens had no say in whether or not these cameras got put up. They were installed without our consent, this is an extremely unpopular initiative. I've not met a single person who approves of this unwarranted mass surveillance. Norfolk citizens just want to live their lives in peace and do not want their every movement to be tracked. I sincerely hope that going forward you will no longer support the installation of any more automated license plate readers in our city and will support the removal of the ones that already exist in Norfolk. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Henry Reed, followed by Alex O'Loughlin.
Good evening, counselors.
Good evening.
My name is Henry. I live in Ward 2. Today, I'd like to tell y'all a story from my childhood. When I was little, I used to go to my grandma's house for the weekends so my parents could work some extra overtime hours. In that time, she would give us like an extra $1 or $2 to help her pick weeds. out of her garden in the back. Now, it was a particularly very hot Sunday morning, and me, my little brother, and my other little brother were out picking weeds, hoping to make a couple extra bucks so we could buy a candy bar at the gas station on the way home. Across the way, you start to hear loud shouting. These two gentlemen had gotten into an argument over, I honestly don't know. And in those moments, things got heated. And one man had a gun. And in some sort of rash decision, decided to empty that gun into the other man. I was the eldest of my two brothers, and I couldn't have been, I was like 6, and I looked around completely lost, and all I could see out of the corner of my eye was my grandma, and she scooped all 3 of us up, threw her body on top of us, and protected us. I want to live in a city where people do that for each other, where our city council can protect us from the harm that we don't see coming. These flock cameras do not do that. Thank you.
Alex is followed by Sarah Drumis.
Good evening, Council. My name is Alex L. Lockman, born and raised in Norfolk. I currently live in Park Place. As you can receive here, once it comes around, from the public court records in Schmidt versus City of Norfolk, Flock went live in May of 2023 with no use policy in place. The only guidance was a special order stating it's to be utilized by personnel for law enforcement purposes only. That one-sentence rule governed a system that tracks over 1 million vehicles a month for nearly 2 years. A real operating procedure didn't arrive until June of 2025 after Virginia state law required it. During those 2 years, the system was searched over 230,000 times. Norfolk Police Department never downloaded its own audit logs until February of 2025, which was for lawsuit. When asked why, city testimony described verifying whether searches were legitimate as entirely too time-consuming. In their words, impossible. This was done in the wrong order. You deploy a system like this after you have policy, oversight, and audit infrastructure in place, not 2 years before. The city did not think through the ramifications of leaving a mass surveillance tool unmonitored. It took a state law to force a reckoning, and even then, the court record suggests the controls are barely functional. And the contract itself reflects that same posture. It grants Flock, quote, a non-exclusive, worldwide, perpetual, royalty-free right and license to disclose our data, which is inclusive of camera footage, during and after the contract term. This is a contract signed by a city that didn't know what it was giving away. The contract itself places no meaningful limits on what Flock can do with the data once it's collected. Selling is the only thing explicitly prohibited. Using it, sharing it, and building other products with it is all licensed. So we're left in a position where the city put the system out first, ask questions later, and now we kind of have to, as the public, we have to prove why that's a problem. So the burden's backwards, in my opinion. It should be the city to demonstrate that this system is compliant, monitored, and not being abused. Instead, it falls on us. So myself and the DFLOC Coalition take hours of our every week to collect evidence, review sources, compile information that we pray you're going to hear. We send FOIAs, we resubmit those FOIAs, we wade through legal and administrative systems trying to prove whether this platform is actually being monitored for abuse while being offered zero proof that it is. I'd love to believe the legal review that happened during the procurement process covered these concerns, But when the proof of a required state audit that I received through a FOIA is a Word document with 6 lines on it, I have to wonder what's actually going on. So if any of the council members, perhaps my own, feel called to help your constituents find accountability and trust in the public safety program, your position would no doubt help shine some light. Municipalities all over the country are canceling these contracts, and I think you should consider why. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Sarah? Sarah, we followed by Nicholas Moser.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jarls, 1006 Bannier Street. I've come to give another perspective. Thank you for having me again. It was a pleasure to talk to you guys last time. Last time I spoke about being a manager at a cafe that I've seen a lot of you at, and I have the pleasure of training and working with some beautiful young women. And it's well understood, as you are public-facing, a lot more public-facing than I am. You understand that you never give out a woman's schedule, obviously. Clearly, that's just, when you work in restaurants, you know that, we all know why, it's for safety. Now, my choice in that safety has been removed by this flock contract. I'd like to bring up the Institute for Justice's 22 criminal court cases about stalking women using ALPRs. We could list them, but they're public information, and these are all resulting in charges that we know about. I'd like to talk about Monroe County, Florida, how a woman worked on a movie set, and a man working security there, also had another form of authority, flagged her license plate. So he knew where she went every time she drove past a flock camera, and then he pulled her over on the side of the road. Violently, there's public dash cam footage of it. And I would like to ask to restore the women I know and the women around me's safety. We all cherish, I make sure my girls get home safe. It's just kind of an understood rule, but this has been removed. Men can follow them at will with essentially no security. That's all I wanted to bring up. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicholas. Nicholas is followed by Gabe Harrell.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm also here to urge the council to cancel the contract with Flock. And I want to talk about why Flock is untrustworthy and dangerous. It claims to only read license plates, but we find them in bike paths, nature trails, public parks, wilderness areas, community pools, and many other areas that are not roadways. So we know that they are beyond capable of just license plates. We know that there's little to no oversight and accountability for searching the Flock database in Norfolk. From July to October 2025, the justifications given for searching Flock included 1,276 instances of 123 as the justification for the search, as well as 5,000 other cases of singular words justifying the use of this database. And so we've really gone from needing judicial warrants for search and seizure to just typing in 123. It becomes trivial. In an interview, Flock's CEO, Garrett Langley, called DFlock a terroristic organization. I think that's just obscene. We're citizens. We're just here to express our concerns and to push for policy change. This is the opinion of the man on the other side of this. Let's look at Flock itself. It's backed by Peter Thiel, who also backs Palantir, which is a company that's developing AI kill chains, which are systems that can automatically surveil, detect, track, and execute targets without any human intervention. Palantir's CEO, Alex Karp, has said he loves, quote, the idea of getting a drone and having fentanyl-laced urine spraying on analysts that tried to screw us, end quote. So think about that. We have a company that's developing technology to autonomously kill people, And we want to give that company a far-reaching live surveillance network that tracks the positions of people in our own home country. To me, that feels about the same as giving a villain a loaded gun pointed at all of our heads and trusting them not to shoot us, and then justifying that by saying this system will reduce crime. This danger is further compounded by the fact that data never dies. The mass surveillance system is currently operating relatively quietly, watching and waiting. Today, we still have some semblance of due process and certain rights and protections under the law, but tomorrow those rights and protections might be stripped away. And when that happens, the data that was collected about our activities today are still going to be around to condemn us. Actions we take today which are perfectly innocent and protected, such as peaceful protest, tomorrow might be banned and the data used to hunt us down retroactively. In conclusion, I strongly urge Norfolk City Council to cancel the contract with Flock and to ensure all of the cameras are immediately removed. Thank you.
Hello, Council. I'm going to start out by addressing the elephant in the room, and thank you for ending the curfew at Lafayette Park. That was really, it was good, genuinely. Thank you for engaging with the community about that and hearing what the community had to say. I believe that rising to the needs of the community is critical, which is why I've applied to the Community Services Board and the Environmental Commission. I've also found out when the election dates are for candidates running for council and mayor. So I'm here tonight to talk about morale, and I'm hearing a lot of people talk about morale in their messages too. While the city has won these awards, I am seeing a different story in my friends and Facebook comments on government pages. The City of Norfolk citizens are really unimpressed with what the city has chosen to spend their time on. It sounds like my mic is going out, but I'm just going to keep talking. So MacArthur Mall, the Neon District, Berkeley, the raising of Tidewater Gardens, the planned raising of Young Terrace and Calvert Park, and you know, not to mention my own experience. I know you guys already know what that is, but it's hard to continue caring and seeing the best in city leadership when the city's silence makes the priorities clear. It's easy to hold an event, well, it's not easy, but it's easier to hold an event that goes off well than it is to provide lasting change in housing and affordable living. And it's also easy to kind of sit back and think that these things won't eventually impact your own lives, like we're talking about with the cameras, right? These cameras are in your neighborhoods too. So I never told you about the other elephant in the room, though, which is why it took me so long to find housing after I unionized Pelham Place. It's because the property manager decided to tell the people that I needed her approval from that I was a terrible tenant and that I was so bad that I couldn't get in anywhere because she gave me that bad of a recommendation. That's why it took me so long to find housing. I was working the Christmas Carol at the Sandler Center in Virginia Beach when I found out that I'd been rejected because of Stacy Morawski. That just this past month I experienced further intimidation while at City Council by a council member where I was sworn at and called a profane name. That's intimidation.
Thank you. Janet Holston? Janet? Jim Casey?
We'll change the subject a bit. If you
Thank
don't.
you.
Jim Casey, 9649 Dauphin Run. I've talked to you last March, Mr. Mayor and City Council, and city manager and also the city attorney. I talked to you last March 25 about an issue I had with the Commissioner of Revenue Office. Well, now I've got another one this year that I want to bring up, and then it's primarily for information because I know it's an independently elected commissioner, and you have minimum oversight of that office and what they do. However, their name is Norfolk Commissioner of Revenue, and whatever they do reflects on Norfolk, either plus or minus. In my case, it's very negative recently, both on me as a citizen of Norfolk and on me as a personal thing, because what they did to me in last March of 25 was they altered my business license application, putting their number that they thought I should have in there in that license application. And what happens then is if I get audited by the IRS, they don't match. Okay, and then it causes a lot of heartburn for me. And so when I broached that to them, I think I brought that to you in March of last year in 25, what I was told was if I didn't like the numbers they put in there, I could do business in another city. Well, I've been doing business in Norfolk as a professional consultant with a business license now for 20-some years. But as of last year, I canceled it, and I'll do it, well, put my business somewhere else. But the newest one came up was I also have a lot of classic cars. If somebody who knows me, for the last few years, I've had 3 classic cars in my possession in my garage. And as such, state of Virginia has a code about what goes on with classic cars that qualify for antiques. And one of that is you don't get taxed on those things, which is why a lot of people own them. Well, comes up last year again, on March of last year, they taxed 2 of my cars with, state tax, the personal property tax. When I questioned them, the deputy commissioner said, "Oh, Jim, we made a mistake. We're going to fix that." Okay, and they gave me a refund because I'd already paid. Well, guess what? This year they came back with me and they taxed one of my 3. And then I said, "What is going on?" And I talked with the commissioner, and the statement that they made was, "Yeah, we did that, but we gave you a credit." And their statement was, "Your antique cars in the city of Norfolk and will remain on our account so that our city council members have an accurate accounting of what vehicles are garaged in the city." And that's a quote. It must be from guidance from you. And I asked someone about that, and they said, "No, you didn't give that guidance." So my only avenue there is when I looked at it was to come let you know what I'm doing and what's happening. And my other avenue is I will go to the Department of the State Department of Taxation for
Thank you,
action.
sir.
Okay.
Hermit Kong? Hermit Kong? Chosen Destin Wilkins.
Mayor, members of council, and city manager. My name is Chosen Wilkins, legally known as Dustin Wilkins, and I stand before you today to address critical issue of public safety, systemic administrative failure, and the breakdown of accountability within our city's legal and law enforcement systems. Every citizen in this city has a constitutional right to due process and equal protection under the law. But right now, there's a systemic crisis in how our city's legal agencies operate. Some, like myself, are witnessing a ping pong game designed to deny a citizen their right to justice. For example, on one hand, Commonwealth Attorney Ramin Fadihi has been caught on video instructing me to get a police report before this office will act. And on the other hand, when I followed his exact instructions, Norfolk police officers on tape refused to take the report and hung up the phone. Even more alarming, when I raised these conflicts in court, Assistant Commonwealth Attorney Keith Proctor filed an official response actively dismissing what we call a prestige conflict. And I argued that just because this matter involves an internationally recognized public figure, it shouldn't disqualify local prosecutors. But the reality is clear. The system is actively shielding a high-profile individual while shutting the door of justice in my face. This is not a personal grievance. This is a public safety crisis. When the Norfolk Police Department and the Commonwealth Attorney's Office selectively decide who gets investigated based on influence and stature, they undermine the integrity of our entire city. Worse, the Police Office of Professional Standards is acting as an institutional gatekeeper. Calls are screened, legitimate complaints of police misconduct go unlogged, and conflicts of interest are allowed to remain embedded within the very unit responsible for oversight, not to mention no one's ever there to open the door. I have formally delivered a comprehensive package detailing these failures to the city manager and Chief Talbot. Today, I am asking this council to exercise its oversight authority to ensure three things: a systemic audit of the Norfolk Police Department's intake procedures, ensuring no officer has the arbitrary authority to refuse a citizen's right to file a formal police report, an independent review of the Office of Professional Standards complaint logging system to ensure citizen complaints are actually being recorded and investigated, and an investigation into how prestige and celebrity influence are allowed to dictate which crimes are investigated and which are swept under the rug. We cannot have a safe city if the public cannot trust the integrity of the police department or the offices meant to keep them honest. I ask that you review the materials delivered to your offices and hold these departments accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn Jones? Glenn Jones? Glenn Jones? Bridget Amelia Toole?
Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the Norfolk City Council. My name is Bridget. I reside at 1500 Cary Avenue, and I wanted to address what's been on the news a lot, which are the teen street takeovers. It's a very simple fix. They're young people, bored, they need something to do. And I figure maybe we can get Habitat for Humanity to pair with NRHA to provide summer apprenticeship programs in plumbing, carpentry, and for those who are 18 to 21, electrical, as well as auto mechanics. This will help a lot of landlords who own a lot of property and rent them out. It will help them get them renovated, and in exchange, those landlords can pay into a scholarship fund for those young people who participate in the summer programs. Now, we also have single parents who are being criminalized for going to work and their children being truant to school. We need to go to faith-based initiatives, to where there's a lot of churches in Norfolk that have day care programs. We can, encourage them to do before and after school programs as well to solve that problem. Again, my name is Bridget Toole, and I always encourage us as a community, the world that we were born in, let us leave it a better place.
Thank
Take
you.
care.